Hello and welcome. It's the podcast. It's another episode of the podcast that I make for you. It's called Just Do It on the Day. No, it's not. It's called Do It on the Day by Jess McDonald. That's me. Hello. You may know me from such places as GameSpot, where I worked throughout all of my 20s, or What Culture, where I'm at now, that I very much love, or perhaps my Twitch channel, which is Jess McDonald, which is just so many hours of nonsense and shenanigans. It's like this, but longer. Or Instagram, where today I posted a video of my cat chasing a bug that I was too scared to take out on my own. So I hid in here like a coward and let her chase around a bug that was probably this big. So you might know me from there. If you don't, and that sounds really fun, it's Jessica McDonald on there. It's Jessica spelled like Jessica, and then McDonnell. So don't worry, you won't miss any of me if you don't want to. But welcome back to a new episode of the podcast. You have been waiting a little bit for this one. That is because I had to move out of this place, which you may remember I told you last time, and then I had to move back in, which is all well and good, except all my shit was in this room. So enough of there's still a couch here next to me on its side, but enough of the stuff had to go back out of this room so I could sit here and talk to you without being like right up in your face. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me yet again for another episode. I have some treats for you today. I think I do. We're going to talk about some bits and pieces, and you know what? I think that we should leap right in. Oh, leaping right in at less than 2 minutes. Jessica, who have you turned into? Is this going to be a 45-minute podcast? I don't know. You tell me. You're looking at the time code. I did not breathe in that sentence at all. Anyway, let's get underway. First segment today is what's happening in video games. I hope it's something good. Sometimes it's something good. I think today it's something that's a bit good, a bit bad, and a bit in the middle. Good, bad, and ugly, which is probably most stories of anything these days. But essentially what I want to talk about is the release date of The Elder Scrolls 6, or as you might know it, Skyrim 2. If you're a youngin' or you're looking for a higher score on SEO, search engine optimization, because I bet that's still higher. But it is, in fact, Elder Scrolls 6, so that's what I'll be calling it. Essentially, we got an update around a month ago from Big Boss over at Bethesda Game Studios, Todd Howard, saying, quote, and this is a big update, the game is still a long way off. He didn't say the part about this is a big update. He said that it's still a long way off. And then we got a more recent comment from him saying that he thinks GTA 6 will definitely come out before Elder Scrolls 6, which I think is not terribly surprising. A long way off certainly doesn't sound like it's coming out next year. So given that GTA 6 is moved to the end of next year, it's pretty understandable that I don't think that we were going to get it within the next year anyway. But boy, have we been waiting a long time. And I think it's something worth talking about, and I think it's a problem. So it's been 7 years now since the initial announcement of Elder Scrolls 6, which was very exciting because Skyrim is one of the biggest and best games of all time. And I think it's arguable that if there was a game that is going to be in the hype realm, in the importance of a game release for the decade, for the generation right now that meets what's happening with GTA 6, it would be Elder Scrolls 6. And this has been a similar issue and a similar wait time for GTA 6, so it's certainly not alone in this. And it kind of makes sense that Todd Howard has to come out with something, because I can't imagine how often that man is asked what's going on with Elder Scrolls 6. But I think there's a problem with how much the hype dies. There's only so long people can hang on between, the awards announcement that something is happening, like us getting that splash screen of Elder Scrolls 6 and then just sitting on nothing year after year after year after year after year after year after year. And then probably year after year, at least from this point, I reckon. We do know it's in the works. He said that the game is playable, but fans have been encouraged to not get too excited too soon. And I think initially we are anyway, because if you're an Elder Scrolls fan, you're in it. This is one of the longest running, biggest WRPG franchises of all time. It's hard to not get embedded in it. And it also makes sense. Elder Scrolls Online is doing really well. So obviously a lot of their resources are there. And if it's anything on the level, well, nothing's quite on the level of GTA Online, but it's getting constant updates and it has a large player base. So it kind of makes sense. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, they're coming forward saying that they don't want to be in a situation with a delay, but nobody does. It's like Todd Howard's coming forward saying they want to avoid a GTA 6 situation where they've got a release date, or they end up with hints and teasers and like coming forward with tidbits about what's happening with development, and it leads to false promises or expectations or delays and disappointments. So it makes sense on the one hand, and on the other, I think it's just not enough for fans to hang their hat on, and I think it's going to take a lot for people to reinvigorate their hype for Elder Scrolls 6 when it does finally get close and come around. Um, if it's anything similar to GTA 6, particularly the hardcores will prop up again, but I think one of the biggest issues is they got it right with Skyrim. And it's something that I want to parallel with Hollow Knight Silksong, because I read a story about Hollow Knight Silksong about a month ago. And essentially what happened with Skyrim, if you don't remember, I was going to say all weren't alive, but I'm sure you were alive in 2011. Someone listening to or watching this right now is going to have not been alive in 2011, and I don't want to hear about it. Don't. It's best for me if you don't tell me. But essentially, Skyrim, did come out 11/11/11. It came out the 11th of November in 2011, and the game was announced at the Spike Video Game Awards on December 11 of 2010. Less than a year. Less than a year. That is the right amount of hype for a video game. And I think I'm so sure that when they announced Elder Scrolls 6 7 years ago, they did not expect that it was going to be at least 7, probably 8, maybe 9 years till they were able to bring something to the fore at that time. I'm so sure, because this is the same company that decided, after all the hits that had already existed and the legacy of the Elder Scrolls franchise, the same company that was like, let's only keep people waiting a year for what would turn out to be one of the most celebrated, greatest, iconic WRPGs of all time. That same company, I don't think, would have had any intention of leaving their fans waiting for this long. But whatever will be. Like, it simply is the case right now, and for better or worse, that's just what's happening. But I think obviously Hollow Knight, it could not be more of a different story. We're talking about Team Cherry. They are an indie game publisher. They're actually based in Australia, which is very cool. They're in Adelaide. A lot of my family's from Adelaide. There's nothing to do there. There are worse cities in Australia, but I can see how people would make a really great, big, engaging video game out of there. Because I don't know what else they're doing. If you're from Adelaide, I'm sorry. Didn't I, like 2 podcasts ago, upset people from Perth? Oh, no. Anyway, everywhere's great. Australia's a magical place. So, yeah, there was a story that went up just a few days ago, actually. I noticed it. That Hollow Knight Silksong, the release date was decided super last minute. And there's a couple of different things to this. So not only were they a bit if on exactly what they were going to do. But essentially what they said was it wasn't a controlled release. And I'm just reading a quote from one of the co-directors of the game here, Ari Gibson, who said, "We didn't even know the date until basically a week or two before we put out the trailer being the release trailer. It's just a snowball and the expectations of fans." And then adding, people have been waiting 5 or 6 years to play the thing. So obviously, people knew it existed, but the fact that it rocked up immediately in people's laps once that release date trailer hit, it wasn't a release date trailer that said the game was TBA or coming when it's ready or coming in a year. It was, you'll have this immediately. And you may have seen stuff like this if you've ever watched a Game Awards show and you're told something is out and playable right now. I can see how that could make marketing teams nervous. I think there's something to Hollow Knight being a relatively small, independent team where they don't have as many pressures from a publisher, from a marketing standpoint, from strategizing things way out, which can often, in many industries, music being one of them, become not the opportune thing for the artist or the creator that is stuck underneath that remit. But yeah, essentially, it's a really interesting one to have launched out the gate like that. But I think that it's very cool. I think that it is something, and I understand that this is a slight stretch, but I think that it's something not only that Elder Scrolls 6 could learn from, but it's something that Elder Scrolls already did. They did it and they killed it with Skyrim. They announced that and brought it out after the announcement less than a year. There was less than a year between those 2 points. And I think that that makes a big difference. And I think the impact that game had when it landed uh, was monumental. Both of those games, obviously, but I'm talking about Skyrim. Whilst I think there is something to be said for GTA 6 will hit like a damn bomb when it comes out because people are so excited. When there is something to really bring forward for Elder Scrolls 6, I'm sure it's going to hit as well. But I wonder if, and I hope that what Todd Howard is hinting at with his commentary and quotes related to development so far and why he's been so vague and just said a couple things like it's playable and it's in progress and stuff like that. I wonder if he's arrived at the point where they want to replicate that tight window. They really want to hold back on bringing forward something like a gameplay trailer, certainly a release day trailer, until they know that they're going to hit under a year. I I would think, given the state of everything right now, the amount of games that get delayed, I think giving out a release date, it's not like they need to build hype. It's it's bloody Elder Scrolls 6. They could announce that the game is coming out like Team Cherry did with Silksong, which everyone loves and a lot of people are playing. But they too could announce, a couple 6 weeks out, that the game is coming out, and people would lose their damn minds. And I think people would play it just as much as if they had a huge marketing lead. Now, that's not the reality, I think, of being a AAA publisher. There would be so much to prep and execute and bloody hell, I mean, 2011 till now for the next game in the franchise, they're gonna want to get it right, even though they have Elder Scrolls Online very successfully chugging along in the background. I think there's really going to be something to say for if they brought out the next substantial set of updates 6 months out from the game actually being able to be released and be in people's hands. 6 months to a year. I think it needs to be a year. A year worked really well for Skyrim, and I hope that the reason Todd Howard is being quite cagey about what's going on right now, and referencing what's happening and what has happened with GTA 6 and its delays, hopefully that means that they're going to learn from that, learn from their own history, and when we even get something as basic as a gameplay trailer, it's going to be when the game's pretty much ready. And pretty much ready will still mean that it's probably a delay away, at least, let's be honest. I think that game not being delayed would be a fucking miracle. But you know, I think that that could really save them and could bring back some of the I don't think it's ill will or anger. I think it's just the this neutrality and detachment that a lot of Elder Scrolls fans I think have right now who aren't into the MMO side of things and are waiting for a new single player campaign. I think that there's a fatigue. I know there is for me. I think there's a fatigue of having been excited for this thing for so long and not having like any reason to keep the hype going. I think at this point, instead of hey, let's give us an update, give us anything, I think it's gone the other way. It's been so long since since we got that splash screen, knowing that it exists. It's been so long at this point, just leave it till you've got it. Just leave it. Just don't talk about it. We don't need to be inundated with what it's going to look like, cinematic trailers, teasers, or everyone's going to play it anyway. The game, but much like GTA 6, the game is going to naturally promote itself. It already has. People are going to play it regardless. And word of mouth is going to spread this thing like wildfire. So I think that hopefully what's happening regarding their complete vagueness about a release window is a positive ongoing thing, and we'll just sit and not think about it until there's something to think about. That's what I want to do. I don't want to be breadcrumbed. I don't want to be breadcrumbed anymore. I'm not going to sit at awards shows. And speaking of which, we've got the Game Awards coming up very soon. The Game I don't want to sit at any more awards shows and be like, is it gonna, are they gonna? I think I lost that hope like maybe 3 years ago. And I think that that's good. We're getting into more of a realist versus optimist versus pessimist territory here. But I do think just tell people about things when they're ready. And I would love to be a fly on the wall of Todd Howard's house. That's weird. Check out where you got that jacket. If you know, you know. But I would love to, because I bet that they wish they hadn't announced that Elder Scrolls 6 was coming when they did. And I think if they knew that they were so far out, they wouldn't have. But, you know, hindsight's 2020. Speaking of the Game Awards that are coming up, there's been the announcement of the monolith. So the Game Awards on November 30 dropped a tweet that shows like a map marker, like on Google Maps, like a real map marker from real life, at an area in the desert, and said spot has like a monolith on it, like this big demon looking monolith. And people are thinking it's Diablo. People were thinking that it's Elder Scrolls. People were thinking it's God of War. Luckily, a bunch of people have come forward who are in the know. Very historic, been in the business forever and ever and ever. Jason Schreier, reporter, games journalist, has come through saying it's not Diablo 4, has also said it's not Elder Scrolls. There was Cory Barlog rocked up on someone's Twitch chat to say it's not God of War. So a bunch of people have said what it's not. It's sort of this article on GameSpot alludes to the fact that Schreier might know what it is. Yeah, it's an odd one. But a lot of people have thought it was like a Daedroth from Elder Scrolls. And then they're saying it's not. Um, and then in classic form, Devolver Digital, who you may know from a Hotline Miami, lots of wild and wonderful, unique, bizarre indie games of that ilk and everything within the gamut of game genres that you might recognize, sent out a tweet on the 3rd of December saying, if no one else is going to claim it, we will. It's for Skate Story, which comes out on December 8th on Nintendo Switch, PS5, and Steam. Anyone that claims it is lying. We made it out of the bones of most of our interns, and the remaining interns put it in the desert. Uh, Obviously tongue-in-cheek and entertaining, because this thing is a gigantic stone demonic-looking monolith that appears to light up with some kind of red sigil at night. So who knows what that is? Uh, I mean, Keely's very tight with Kojima, but I think Kojima's pretty busy right now. So who knows what it's probably new IP. I think Game Awards is pretty interested in bringing forward things we haven't seen before, and new IP is always such a big deal right now, where it's so few and far between. We are really living in the franchises. I mean, look at how big Claire Obscure was and is, because what an anomaly to get a game that big and impressive in the AA AAA sphere. Of course, we get wonderful new IP in independent publishers and developers all the time. But for something that big to come out that's not a part of an existing series is almost unheard of in big budget gaming. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's new IP, like really kicking off hype for it. Also, new IP, I think, requires this kind of strange guerrilla ultra hype marketing more than existing franchises, which is again my point about GTA selling itself and Elder Scrolls selling itself. So you didn't ask for what I reckoned, and I didn't even mean to tell you what I reckoned, but that's what I reckon. I reckon it's new IP. I'd be surprised if it's a franchise that already exists. I think that that would be unusual for a big heavy hitter, just because I feel like Game Awards is often a place where we get big new stuff, or it's Skate Story. Sorry, Skate Story. Dole already told us it's Skate Story. Yeah, so I think that's what I think about the Elder Scrolls 6 release date. That is how I'm hoping they'll treat it. And I completely understand there couldn't be more differences between, apart from making great games, between Bethesda and Team Cherry. But I think that there's a lot that could be learned and gleaned and replicated from the way that Team Cherry managed, or I suppose didn't manage, the release of Hollow Knight Silksong. I think it's just very interesting in a realm where that is so important and so tailored, which makes sense. I mean, these games are in production for, some games are in production for a decade. At the very least, games are in production for years and years and years. So when you're hitting that release window, you want to do it correctly. And I completely understand that. And I think, Hollow Knight was so big. I think people were going to jump on Silksong anyway. And one of the interesting things about Silksong is that there were other games. It's not in this article itself, but there were other games. Oh, here we go. That decided to move their release dates. I'm just reading on This Week in Video Games. Excellent video game news site. There are other games that decided to move their own release dates around Hollow Knight Silksong, which is interesting because of how tight it was. There was the 2-week window. There was a 2-week window. 6 years of nothing, not knowing what was happening with Silksong. And then a release date came out, release date trailer. And that came out on the 21st of August. And then the game came out on the 4th of September. So look, Elder Scrolls 6 is not turning around that timeline, but it's interesting that they decided to execute it that way. It is interesting that the game is so good and they have such proven success that so many people jumped on it anyway, and it's been celebrated in the way that it has. I think is super cool. I think it's an interesting use case. But yeah, the games that quickly shimmied around it in a kind of indie realm version of how AAA games and AA and let's face it, indie games have shimmied around GTA 6 being released. And I'm sure we'll do so whenever we get Elder Scrolls 6 release information. But the games, yeah, there were a few different ones. There was a game called Eterna Lucius that I don't know, Phalanx Stompin' Sword of Miracles, Baby Steps, Little Witch in the Woods, Demon School, and another one that decided to shimmy out. And this is a quote from the developers of a game called Clover Pit, which I'm going to tell you about in a second. It's made by Panic Arcade, and the publisher is Future Friends Games. How lovely. How cute is that? Yes, I'm going to tell you about that in the next segment in a hot minute. But they were quoted saying, the release date for Silksong was announced yesterday. It's only one day after our original launch date. Silksong is the most anticipated and wishlisted game on all of Steam, and we think people will love this game and play it right at launch, including us. But that also means it will overshadow all games launching close to it. So if we stick to our original date, we risk the launch of Clover Pit a fair bit. And as you can imagine, a lot of indie devs came out saying very similar things. The Devolver Digital again came out. They are they're the creators, they're the publishers of the game Baby Steps. That was going to come out on the 8th of September, and they just released a quick little comment saying Nate is allergic to hornets. Explaining why their developer, why they were unable to release too close to Hollow Knight Silksong, and vibe. Congratulations, very funny. And that one ended up coming out a few weeks later. So yeah, I mean, I think release dates on video games are an interesting thing. Release dates in general are sort of like succeeding on YouTube or most things. It's an absolute mystery, and people try and replicate proven success, but ultimately you get a little stuck with what works and the timelines you need to follow, particularly when there's a lot of different moving parts. And sometimes you can do the exact same thing and it doesn't pan out, so or do something completely different and it does. So I think that this stuff is quite interesting, but yeah, that's what I reckon. But that's the end of that segment. Let me tell you about Clover Pit. It's the next segment. I've been playing what I've been playing specifically, or what I've been obsessed with. And initially was like, I have no interest in this when I first heard about it. Then I was like, it's free on Game Pass. And then I didn't know what it's going to stream the other day. And it was suggested a couple times. And I felt like going for something easygoing. Because my other thought was that I may start playing, and I will start playing Fallout New Vegas, a game that I, despite being an RPG veteran fan for my whole life, have not played. So I think we'll do that, and that'll be fun. But was looking for something a little more easygoing, having returned from my big, horrific moving escapades. And so we played Clover Pit. The best way to describe Clover Pit is you're at a slot machine in what seems to be some kind of gory limbo hellscape. It's got pixelated graphics. It's very simplistic. You have extra tickets, a different form of currency that you can spend on charms that can alter certain states of your game. So you can add pattern multipliers, symbol multipliers. There's various different things they can do. I think there's hundreds of the things. So you have an initial limit of 7 charms to combo. And basically, you want to pick up a bunch of things that play nice together. So you can make your way through each round of the game, and you'll get 3 rounds within what is essentially a deadline, wherein you need to make enough coins to pay off your debt to an ATM. So you're in the world's tiniest room. Behind you, little case selling those lucky charms, which you can pick up. You can pay money to restock. Sometimes you might get an item that gives you a free restock. Then in front of you is that Clover Pit slot machine. Then to your right is an ATM. Beneath the slot machine is what looks like a thing of entrails. And then on the final wall, there is a locked door you can't get into, and a phone next to that door, which will ring at the beginning of every new deadline and offer you what I could really best equate to as a kind of perk, a bonus. You can get extra Clover tickets, which is the currency you'll use to buy charms. You can do things like doubling the value of certain symbols on the slot machine. You can make symbols appear more or less often. Essentially, there's a whole bunch of randomized things that can happen. Obviously, everything's completely randomized in the slot machine. You can alter odds as you go using charms and stuff, but there's a lot of RNG. It's a slot machine game. Story of Jessica. Not a gambler. Never have been. I can't remember if I told you this story. I gambled once in my entire life. A friend and I went to a casino after a very long night. I think it was after a Christmas party. It was like the third place we went after work Christmas party because he wanted to go to the casino. I had $10. I put a $10 note into... It was like a machine with all the buttons. I don't know how it worked. I hit some buttons. It was like $20. I was like, boom, let's go. That's $10 I didn't have before. I cashed out. He's like, what are you doing? That's not how you gamble. Keep going. And I was like, literally, why? I have $10 that I didn't have before. So yeah, legitimately, I just did like one little clicky. And then I went up to the desk and gave the woman my ticket. And I'm not sure anyone had ever tried to cash out that quickly for that little amount of money before, but I did. And that is the first and last time I gambled. I went to Vegas and didn't gamble once. Which I kind of regret. Feels like I should have done it, like just to try it, but I'm just not a gambler at all. What I do enjoy though is video game gambling. That's because I can save scum my way to success. Clover Pit is a roguelike, not a roguelite. It's a roguelike, which means you can't save scum and you just have runs. Think of it as the beginning section of Inscription. If you played it, essentially you're trying to find and a little bit luck your way into a good combo with the right charms, the right choices you make of the perks you receive on the phone call. You could get interest in the ATM. Maybe you want to spec into getting a lot of interest. Essentially, you want to get through as many rounds as you can. Now, there are little things you can do later on in the game. There's 4 boxes you can unlock, and they will let you store a charm without necessarily having to have it equipped. So if you are full up on charms, you cannot buy another one, even if you can afford it, unless you sell or throw away something you've got. And if you want to bump things in and out based on maybe something's run out of charges, or you want to use it later but not right now, you can do that if you have a drawer without missing out on something you have that you want to keep. And there's also a little mechanic where in the slot machine, you can pull up 666. And if you do that, there's a percentage that will happen, which I think is a fucking lie because I said it out loud that it might happen and then it happened immediately. So I think it's listening to me, much like your phones. Anyway, prove me wrong, Panic. But yeah, so essentially if you can't meet the debt amount at the end of each deadline, at the end of each 3 rounds, a trapdoor will appear below you. This is the other part of the room. And you'll fall to your death. And then you start all over again. If it sounds addictive, it's because it is. At the start, I found it very frustrating, but I slowly got to a point where I unlock more charms. I also reckon they give you beginner's luck because the first time I played, I ended up on millions of coins. You start this game with literally 13. I had a really good strategy. I had unbelievable beginner's luck. Or I'm just very, very good at digital gambling. But yeah, I was doing really well. And people who are fans of the game who are new to my Twitch stream were like, "Oh, this is a first run. That's insane." And I didn't have any draws unlocked. I just got lucky with my natural skill. Yeah, so that was fun. And then I had just a series of horrific runs. Nothing went to plan. I wasn't getting a good combo with items. And because I don't have the natural inclination of like enjoying a slot machine, I don't find it that enjoyable to just pull a thing and wait for random luck. Like I get nothing out of that. To emphasize how much I don't gamble or understand a slot machine, there is a button on the thing that activates any item abilities that have a charge that you might want to kick off at any point during your pulls. So you'll do 7 spins or 3 spins is usually your options. And then there's the slotty pulley lever. I thought it was the button. I didn't know how to activate the machine for a hot second because I didn't know that the go button wasn't the button, it was the pull, because I don't know shit. But anyway, there's also a toilet in there that you can piss into or take a shit. And if you do that, you get a special item. So that's sort of the game we're dealing with. And then there's a computer that tells you about all the items that you picked up, of which there's 160, I believe. There might be more than that. When you get late into the game, you can pick up memory cards, which will let you start your game with specific states that make it harder. This is because I know that because I got to a point where as much as I even wanted to necessarily, I could not put this thing down because I was like, oh, if next time I get this and I'm able to put it with that, I wonder what charms I'll get, or I could apply this thing and make this work. And it's that kind of game you just sit around, and this is such a roguelike thing. And you're like, I have enough new information that if I get a little bit of luck, and I'm a bit clever about this, and there is enough strategy that I stayed interested. Because if it's all luck, that's boring to me. Straight up poker machine, no thank you, not interested. But there's enough strategy with the decisions you make on the fairly big game-changing telephone perk things that you can permanently change for your game, and your combo of items. For example, having items that when they get set off, which some of them happen, they trigger randomly. You can get a horseshoe item that doubles that trigger randomly chance. So something that would have triggered 30% of the time triggers 60%. And then there is another item, a tarot deck, that increases your symbol multiplier. So you're going to get more points for each symbol that pops. And that increases the symbol multiplier every time an item pops up until an item does not pop, and then it goes back to nothing. But if you have items popping all the time, then it just keeps going up and up and up. So that's what I had when I when I played last, and I kind of broke it. But it feels like a good game to break. It's very enjoyable. And they obviously know you're going to break it, which is why they give you, I think there are actually like 30 something memory cards that you can put in the machine to make the game harder, so you can keep playing it after you've broken it. That add things like it's more likely you'll get your coins eaten with a 666, or I actually completed one where I got some free restocks for the charm machine, but every time I started, it would be empty. So that was kind of interesting to play with, and I played with that one because I defeated the game quite quickly. So the goal is to get the key to get out. I figured out the path to do that fairly quickly. So there is an end game state and the credits roll. And that's not too hard to hit. I hit it in, I don't know, maybe like 6 hours or something. And then I just wanted to keep going. When I talk to you about games I've been playing, I watch gameplay. So I remember. and now I want to boot the game. And it's like, I already did it. And then it's like, when you do get a bad run, you're like, oh, this is such a waste of time. It's like, I'm not learning anything anymore. Like, I beat it. I've seen everything there is to see. The rest is just like I guess it's like when you play The Sims or whatever, though, you know, it's like you can do a self-imposed challenge. There's there's enough there that I really enjoyed and got a bit addicted and wanted to keep going back and trying new things. And there's also not so much there that when I boot it, I'm like, yeah, let's go again. It's the slot machine part is not my favorite gambling mechanic in a video game, but the strategy elements are interesting. So yeah, I had a fairly good time with it. I don't know if I would have picked it up if it wasn't free on Game Pass. I think if it looks kind of weird and you want something that's like quite easygoing, the game I played before this was Seance at Blake Manor, which is a game that runs on a timer and is all about investigating, and you have to be diligent and smart, and everything proceeds in a way that you have to be so intentional and thoughtful and careful if you want things to turn out as well as they possibly can. So this was just the perfect, like, popcorn thing to pick up after that. And it wasn't, it's not Power Wash Simulator, Popcorn, or, Mario Party. Not that there's anything wrong with those. It was enough for me that I was like, oh yeah. But not so much that it's going to swallow my life. I could see myself going back and trying one of the other memory card things, but as soon as I get like a bad run, I'm more motivated to stop than I am to keep going. And I think that's just me with a slot machine. But I did keep going enough to put probably like 10 hours into the thing. And yeah, like it's a bit of fun. If you have Game Pass, I recommend picking it up. If you have Game Pass and you don't mind roguelike, sorry, you get pretty embedded, and it is really enjoyable when you cotton onto a good strategy and you start pulling the right things and min-maxing the symbols so you make one of them appear far more often. And if you get to a point like I had, I played 12 hours in it. If you get to a point where you're able to have one symbol appearing far more often than the others, and what I had with the tarot deck popping, that's multiplying what that symbol is worth over and over and over again, and then you're getting good plays, not out of luck, but because you strategized it that way, that's really enjoyable. That's what I really liked about the game, and what I think you might like about the game. So yeah, it was a fun one. It was what I needed. And I'm glad I played it. And when I first heard about it, I was like, slot machine, that's not for me. Like, and it doesn't have like a big inscription story or anything. There's a few little cool things. It's got an ambiance. As I said, it's kind of like crunchy, gory, I don't know if I'd call it like B movie. It's like you're sort of just in like a murder saw room. And there's cute little things, like if you decide to throw away one of your lucky charms, it just gets like, it dissolves into like blood and gore. Like there's cute little things. And like when you die, yeah, you drop into the death pit and stuff. And those are mostly aesthetic. There's a cute one I won't spoil when you get further in. And but the fact that I really enjoy that it ends. There is an ending to achieve, and I think that was a big deal for me in feeling satisfied with it, and even wanting to go back to it, because I know I got that. I guess it makes me want to go back and not go back, because I feel like I achieved it, but also I enjoy the mechanics enough that I want to keep playing. But when I jump back in, I'm like, I know there's nowhere else to go. There's nothing else to like learn, other than just getting a high score, just being better for me. Or what you can do is work on defeating those memory cards. So the memory cards you'll pick up if you have an amazing run and you have enough money for consecutive deadlines without even having to play, you get an offer on the ATM, and that offer is if you put in all the money now without playing, we'll give you a memory card pack. And those include the different qualifiers that you can start the game with that I talked about earlier. And it's very tempting to go back and play those. Like I said, I played through one. Oh, I've talked about it long enough. I'm probably going to go play another one. It's the kind of game that, like, thinking about whilst I'm excited for it, thinking about devouring Fallout New Vegas and knowing I'm a completionist and that is going to take like 100 hours. It is very tempting to just go play a half hour, just to go play a run of Clover Pit and see how it goes. And I know lots of people have games like that, where it's like you'll jump into a match of something or just like a little bite size of some. I play a lot of like big story heavy single player games. So there is some enjoyment in playing a game that's just way less heavy. Yeah, so that's where I was at on that one. And you're gonna have to wait for my thoughts on Seance at Blake Manor because I've been talking too long. I know. Can you believe it? But let's answer some questions before I go. Question time. It's questions and suggestions. Questions and suggestions. Yes, there we go. I'll never get that one right. It's almost like I should call it something else, but I won't. We're gonna keep on trucking because we did it on the day. Everything's gonna be okay. And if it's not, it doesn't matter because at least we did it. Well done, you. You're great. Fucking hell. Fiery asks, are there any video game genres that are oversaturated or genres you'd like to see return or rise in popularity? I think every genre is oversaturated at the moment. I think that anytime I come across a game that's doing something interesting in an oversaturated genre, I love that. I love like a weird mechanic or something that makes me think twice. I think that's something I really appreciated about Clover Pit, which I just didn't think I'd enjoy, and Seance at Blake Manor, I didn't think I'd enjoy. I didn't think I generally don't like roguelikes because I hate losing all my progress and going back to the beginning, especially when I've been doing well. Through some bad luck, especially when it's not my fault, it's strategy and not being able to save. And Seance at Blake Manor is an investigating, you're a detective trying to figure out what's going on in a haunted manor in which there are 20 odd different characters who all have their own complex stories, and you have 2 days to solve everything, ideally, or as much as you can. And every time you do anything, you spend a minute. Every time you look at something, you spend a minute. Every time you ask someone one question, you spend a minute. And to make it clear, the amount of things you can ask like one person about is at least 100. So you got to be very smart about everything, in particular about everything. And I don't like games that are on time limits. So I thought I wouldn't like that as well. But it turns out those things made those games quite interesting. And at least like for me particularly, I think the oversaturation of a genre is so dependent on your experience with that genre. I think if you play so many first-person shooters that they all start to look the same, or JRPGs that they all start to look the same, or action adventures or stealth games, then I think that you will be more vulnerable to and frustrated by potentially the oversaturation of a genre. I think by and large, it's hard to penetrate and map the oversaturation of genres because if you look at the sheer quantity, you know, it's like 100 games that come out a day across the platforms, at the very least dozens. So naturally there's just every genre stacked, which makes it really easy to miss good games, which is why recommendations are amazing and something I always appreciate. But yeah, I think also if you have a huge favorite game in a certain genre and nothing else quite stacks up, you might also just see a lot of games that are bandwagoning pointlessly, and that can look a lot like an oversaturation point. I think games that are trying to emulate Fortnite are a lot like that, even though Fortnite was emulating DayZ, which was just emulating the whole idea of battle royale, which existed, long before it was put into a video game. But I think there's still wiggle room to do things that are interesting. I think Outer Worlds 2 is a really good example of a game, and I talked about it a bit when I was talking about the floors system. A game that has joined a wildly oversaturated genre. Not just that, the game itself feels completely almost like a not a replica or a twin, but it's certainly a close sibling. It's one of it's a set of siblings with its originator, Outer Worlds 2 with Outer Worlds 1, that hang out all the time. They're tight. They got inside jokes. These siblings are close. But I think it was the things about Outer Worlds 2 that stepped away from it and did things differently, particularly that floor system, is what kept it novel and interesting. I think at the same time, if you really enjoy something, if you're someone who picks up FIFA every year or any kind of regular installment game that doesn't change all that much, that those very similar titles existing within a similar space might not bother you too much. But yes, by and large, quantifiably, I think every genre is oversaturated. For me personally, I just pick and choose, and then I sort of just follow what sounds like something I might be interested in, and often that's through recommendations. And Game Pass has been like, I was such a PlayStation girly, and I play on PC almost all the time. I do have PC, Xbox Game Pass, and full disclosure, I have access to Game Pass through Xbox ANZ. But there are games that I never would have tried, like Clover Pit, because of that service, because of the stuff that's on there that I thought wouldn't be my thing. So that has been kind of a thing for me, especially with how expensive everything is now. We're stepping outside of what I normally think that I would like. What's the other game we played? The adventure game, Eric Solm, that one. Was another game that I just wouldn't have thought was my bag of chips. I did buy that one on Steam, and trying out that one was great. Seance of Blake Manor has a free demo, and I really didn't think that would be my thing. That was another one that's not on Game Pass. I bought it. I say that like it's super impressive. It's not. But a full price game is $120 in Australia now, so that's a real consideration. But yeah, I thought I wouldn't like Seance of Blake Manor. I played through the demo. The demo's generous too. I played for 2 hours, the full demo. And I enjoyed it so much that I grabbed the full game, which goes back to what I think I often say: demos are fantastic, especially if you know you got something really good. Giving people enough of a taster that it's like, oh yeah, all right, this is sick. I'm into this, yeah. And sometimes that's how you sell a video game. Yeah, and I think genres I'd like to see return are just the ones that are seen to be less marketable, I think. They're genres that aren't gone. They're things like Seance at Blake Manor, like point and click adventure games that still very much exist. They're just not that big. They're not that popular. They're not games that you're gonna, see too often on GOTY lists or necessarily hear about. They'll fly under your radar unless you're really looking for them, or you happen to be connected to someone who's noticed them. And I think that's just because there's only so much room and in the realm of games, and the AAA publishers have more money to promote their games. And games that have already like really established themselves as breakout hits, like Hollow Knight, have established themselves like that, and gained themselves a fan base without necessarily having AAA backing. So I think there's just only so much room, which is why I like recommendations so much. And I'll sometimes just Google stuff. I'm like, what's happening like right now on point and click adventure games? Like there are developers I follow, Wadget Eye Games, make narrative heavy point and click adventure games that I really enjoy. So I just keep an eye on them. And when they've got a new one, I usually play it. So yeah, kind of bits and pieces like that, um, is sort of my my rock into things. But I think by and large, the most popular genres are always going to be those like just crowd pleaser big boys, you know? It's the same as blockbuster movies will always be the biggest blockbuster movies, crowd pleasing blockbuster video games. Um, and that's fine so long as there's support for indies, you know? So long as indies have a window and a way to access the money and resources, uh, which often they don't, that the big boys do. The fact that it exists, I think, is wonderful. The games are there. It's just ensuring that those developers and publishers are able to continue um, existing and continue making games. Because by and large, a lot of the independent developers I know, there's very few of them that didn't make their games at a loss. Even if their games sold well, if you're talking about a few people putting years of their lives, perhaps unsalaried, if they're a solo developer who's just, you know, they're just taking time out, perhaps time on the side of doing another full-time job, which I think they often are, first-time developers or still trying to get off the ground. Um, the sheer amount of hours they're putting into something over years to release it, even if it does well, you're not, you're not making a profit on that. And I think that is the rough thing about the cream of the crop popularity that will almost always belong to publishers with more money. And it's kind of up to publishers with more money to elevate the little guys, which I know Xbox were doing with Xbox Indies. And yeah, it's something that hopefully the big boys feel more and more motivated into doing, because that is, for a lot of people, for a lot of devs, I think, a really significant and sometimes completely necessary avenue, if they want to access that and market and get out there. So yeah, I don't think they necessarily need to be popular, but I'd like them to be funded. Couple more questions I will be answering in the extra episode. You may have seen my last bonus episode. That's usually an exclusive for Coffee and Patreon people, but I didn't give you a podcast, so I put it out for everyone. It was me doing a very strange handheld on my phone cribs style showcase of the temporary apartment I was in, and just showing you all its quirks and eccentricities. A little different from the enjoyable quirks and eccentricities of the games I was just talking about, but you may want to check that out. I will answer questions that I don't answer now there in the next bonus episode, but I'll answer one more. This is a more recent one, but Vicious said, you might be thinking about something like this, but suggestion for the podcast. Since the Game Awards are coming up, you could have an episode for the Jessica Awards. Jessica Awards. We'll work it out. Where you give us some of your picks for the categories, and then random categories. There's a great idea. We'll do that before the end of the year. I think that's an excellent idea. I feel like the games I played this year are such a scattershot, like, selection. I feel like I played weirder, more off the wall, less popular stuff this year than ever before. I have somehow circumvented a lot of the big boys in favor of little games that almost no one has heard of, but that's okay. I'll give you some bits and pieces, and I think that could be really fun. So yes, we'll make that happen. And I will do that in a an episode that everyone can access. Yeah, so let me know what you reckon about that one, what you think about any of the things I've said here. If you want to subscribe, that would be amazing. If you want to like rate this podcast, that would be so great. Or like comment or like follow or anything. I hate asking for anything, so I'm really weird right now. But if you have gotten to this point and you want to see more, you can track it on Spotify so you'll get notified, or wherever you happen to be, or you can subscribe on YouTube if you want to. I'll have more bits and pieces for you. I hope you're enjoying this. I'm really enjoying making it for you. So yeah, I hope that this week you feel motivated to go do something on the day, whatever it may be, big or small. I love hearing about the things that you guys have decided to go do, or comments you've had on my random thoughts and shares and discussion starters and news takeaways and the games I'm playing. So please keep letting me know your questions and comments on things. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed making it for you, and I will see you again next time. Goodbye.